Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood back with another Dark Shadows video for you guys and gals. I'm here to give my reaction and review to episode 43, written by Francis Swan, directed by John Sedgwick. So here the camera isn't as pulled back on the Seaview Terrace. It isn't showing the whole thing. We're actually zoomed in, agreed to like where Victoria's room looks to be, the tower room looks to be. It's really, really well done. Though that could be David's room. I think it's supposed to be where Victoria's thing. So here we go. Here we go. Vicky is working. And I like this. They pull back the camera on this great house and we cut away to the inn. The inn. To Maggie Evans typing stuff up. Probably her W-2s. Sorry, tax return. And Mr. Malloy walks into the coffee shop and he wants coffee and common sense. I love the mirror shot here. We were shooting Bill Malloy from the back and we see the mirror of the reflection of Bill Malloy. So he's asking him if Maggie noticed anything about her different about her father lately. He says she said he's been a nut his whole life. Has he changed toward you? And she asked, well, change what? He said his attitude. I like your father and I'm worried about him. He says, I think you worry too much. She tells him, I think you worry too much. So Bill Malloy asked Maggie, you'd like to help him if he was in any kind of trouble. By the way, when they were doing that, I love the little side view we get of the counter, and now we have a close-up of Maggie Evans. We go from side view of the counter to close-up of Maggie, and we still see Bill's face in the frame. We see a partial shot of the back of his head. Would be his left side in my view, which is she says that most of the Evans were already born in trouble. It's not to be treated lightly. Last night I had a long talk with Sam. And she said, you're the one that got him upset and drunk too. It was for his own good, he says. She asked, what do you want with him anyway? I think he stumbled onto some information, but it's dangerous for him to have. She asked, do you know where he got it from? He says, no, I'm not sure. Just know he has it, or at least he says he has it. Maggie says you can't believe a thing a pop says because he likes to spin yarn. He likes to tell a story. So Bill says he wouldn't want to hurt Sam. He likes him. So you do hear that Bill Malloy says, I would sacrifice anything to help Liz's daughter. You know, for Matthew Morgan, that works the other way. He would sacrifice everybody for Liz. And Maggie says to Bill, I believe you would. And that's the intro. The ominous music, as it says. So we're getting some different camera angles from John Sedgwick a bit in this episode. I think that's very neat. The directors, not just John, but Leela as well, putting their own stamp on these episodes, like I mentioned before, is important. And here you have a wider shot, a more pulled back shot of it, not completely. You see Bill's left side of his face, but you also see a partial shot of the back of his head. You see part of his back. He's holding the coffee mug. You see Maggie Evans, who's holding the pencil in her right hand. We see Maggie's whole face. We see the left side of Bill's. So she says it might be Roger Collins, Burt Devlin, and Bill says, why do you say that? Or both. So Maggie confirms that both Roger Collins and Burt Devlin have been to her father's house, her home. Her home, god damn it! And with Burt coming back to Collinsworth about your. So she tells Bill Malloy that Burt gave Pop a commission to do his portrait. And it's much. She says that maybe Pop was just celebrating. He says no, it's much more than that. So again, Bill suspects a lot of things here, but he has no confirmation. He believes Sam does know something, or at least Sam believes he knows something, and Bill Malloy's trying to figure out what. Bill says that maybe it wasn't just the liquor that was talking and Sam Evans. And Maggie says, what's this all about, Mr. Malloy? He said, I won't say anything until I have more facts, for which Burt Devlin was sent to prison for. Maggie has been putting pieces together herself in previous episodes too, and she asked Bill, is it about what Burt was sent to prison for, the manslaughter charge? Maggie says, well, then he's come back from him. And Bill says, wouldn't you, in his position? You can say that again. I love how we have a mirror. Burke is not a forgiving man, Bill Malloy says. Maggie, I don't blame him. But Maggie doesn't understand how her father fits in all this, and neither does Bill. Maggie says if her father, she says Pop, would have knew anything about it, he would have said so at the trial. Would he have? I know, I just did the wrong finger there. I like how she sets the menu on the table here, and she's about to fix stuff around. It's a great shot. Now you see both Bill Malloy, Frank Schofield's character, and Kathleen Lee Scott's character Maggie Evans in the same frame. You see now the right side of Bill's face. He's leaning over Maggie as Maggie is sitting down rearranging the menu list. This is how it used to be done. But, well, there are still some people who do it this way. It's not all digital, I don't think. I'd like to think no. I'd like to hope not. So Frank Schofield, Bill Malloy is going to call somebody. There's Victoria Winters walking in the coffee shop. Says, hi, Vicky. I like how they shot that. You actually saw somebody's figure in the window, and they open the door, and it's Vicky. And Vicky said, I walked all the way into town. Maggie, how about a coffee? How about a soda? And she says, oh, no, thanks. Oh, she said thanks, sorry. There's Bill Malloy. Bill. And so this is interesting. This is the first time we have a actual full-on conversation with Victoria Winters and Bill Malloy, and Vicky asks Bill if she's seen Carolyn, and Bill says, I've had so much on my mind. He could have seen her, but he could have looked right past her, because he says, I've had so much on my mind. She says, I'm afraid you're going to have more. Miss Starr wants you to call her. And Bill says, yeah, I intend to as I get the information I'm after. I guess it's pretty important, Vicky says. So he tells her, the information I'm after is maybe important to her and more important for her brother if I can ever find him. So now Bill Malloy is on the hunt for Roger Collins. So Sam is probably most likely at the Blue Whale, and so Victoria Winters asks Bill Malloy, "What do I tell Mrs. Stoddard?" And Bill says to her, "I'll tell her I'll be in touch with her." Um, Maggie did say that her father's probably at the Blue Whale by now. But she says, I don't think she's going to like it. She's not going to like the information he's got after. And Vicky's face is like, oh, okay. What's she to say to that? Seriously, what would you say to that? I'd say, can you be a little more specific? Really, he can't, because that's the thing. He knows Sam may know something. He just assumed Sam was so drunk he was talking out of his head. But now Bill in this episode is realizing maybe it wasn't just the liquor talking. Happy Michael Myers Monday. So Victoria asks Maggie, what do you think he meant by that? The bad news from a star? And she goes, I don't know. I think Mr. Malloy has bad news for everybody. You know, little comic strip book character has a dark cloud around. That's horrible. Funny. So Maggie says to Vicky, "Hey, you've been living at Colin long enough. Have you heard anything?" And Vicky's like, "You don't think they tell me anything, do you?" They don't. They don't. They don't tell that girl shit. They tell her nothing unless they want to, as long as it doesn't inform her too much. So Vicky says, "I didn't think she was calling me." She goes, "I wasn't until my father was involved." She did. She did meet your father. She just doesn't realize it. So why does Vicky not remember meeting Sam Evans? It's because Sam is so in and out of people's life, and he's quiet. When he's talking to you, he every time he talks to Vicky, he's speaking in poetry, and she's just sort of like, okay, like why are you? So that's why it does sort of make you think about Sam Evans and how at times he can be forgettable because he's usually talking as a poet or he's drunk. And Maggie says about how Pop was being both a mother and a father to her. And she said that he changed, and he said, Vicky asked what happened. He said he got moody. And Vicky asked how long ago was that, and she goes about 10 years. He said he sold a lot of paintings for a bunch of money. Or she told Maggie told Vicky that. And Maggie says that her father would never tell her why he was so upset. Maggie says that her father blew the money. He didn't. He didn't. He didn't. And Maggie says she'll get herself a soda. There's Bill Malloy at the Blue Whale drinking. There's Joe Haskell. And he asks if they've seen Carolyn, and they're like, no. Bob's like, nope. Shaking his head no. And there's Joe Haskell. It's like, oh, it's you, Joe. Mr. Malloy, are you okay? Physically, I'm in good health. That's what you mean. So Joe tells her Mrs. Stoddard is trying to get in touch with you, and Bill says, so I've heard. Notice how at first he's not saying who he heard it from. She said, did you say why? Joe says, no, but she did say something important. Well, Carl, when I have something to report. Everyone at the plant was wondering where it was. Joe brings up the fact that everybody at the plant was worried about Bill Malloy because they didn't know where he was. And she said, it's not like me to miss work. So that's like Bill Malloy to have been a drink at the Blue Well in the afternoon. You're sure you're right? And, and Bill Malloy says he feels sick and harmed. Joe's there anything I can do? And Bill Malloy says, Joe asked him if there's anything he can do. Bill said, yeah, have a drink with me. So Bill's continuing to have a drink. He said he tried Sam Evans' personal remedy for his ills, but it's not working. The first person to really understand Sam's depression and how Sam feels is truly Bill Malloy, because he realized, I think, in this episode, from what I've gathered, is Bill understands. Okay, Sam does know something about what happened 10 years happened that he can put Roger in jail, and he's feeling sorry for Sam and what Sam has gone through in his entire life, at least the past 10 years. Bill says, but sometimes you have to come involved, and then it hurts, just because you have to hurt others, those you care for very much. Again, Bill isn't just talking about Sam there, because for Sam to tell everybody, it wouldn't just hurt the Collins family, it would hurt his daughter. With Bill knows, this is going to hurt Liz. Joe's offering Mr. Malloy to take him home. He said, I don't need to be taken anywhere. I like how Bill's like, you think I've taken the secret drinking? I like how what Bill Malloy, Frank Schofield's character, does here. He's reminding Joe of how young he is. You're too young to remember a time when Sam Evans was a happy man. Bill isn't. Bill's a lot older than what Joe is. It's probably, again, one of the most underrated characters in the series is Bill Malloy. But so is Mrs. Johnson. As soon as she gets introduced. But yeah, by the way, long before she does get introduced, because it'll be soon before you know it. Sarah Johnson was Bill Malloy's housekeeper and cook and stuff. So Bill knows that Joe has trouble with Carolyn, and there's another man in town. Not until recently. Not until Bert Devlin came back. And Bill says he wouldn't fool around with her, and Joe says, I have a feeling she's in Bangor right now. And Bill says none of that makes sense, and Joe says, yeah, none of it makes sense. It doesn't. He tells Bob to pour Joe a beer. And speaking of drinks, we're back at the hotel, and Maggie has given Vicky a soda. And she says, Maggie says, "How is life in that mausoleum she's been in college?" She says, "All right." It's been pretty tense since Mr. Collins wrecked his car. So Vicky does tell Maggie, "I can pick any day I want to get off." She's inviting Vicky to dinner with her father and her at the cottage. And now Vicky says, "Speaking of dinner, it's late." So it's probably later in the evening. It's more toward dinner time. So darkness is going to come here soon. Um, it's probably a lot later than what Bill Malloy realizes. There's Sam Evans. Sam says, "I know, Miss Winters." Sam says he merely spoke to Victoria Winters. Seemed like a nice girl. He didn't want to hear it. And Maggie says, "How can she be hurt?" And Sam says, I have a premonition." Sam says, "I have a premonition something terrible is going to happen." Collinwood. Mr. Malloy is looking for her at the Blue Whale. His daughter tells Sam, and Sam says he'll join Mr. Malloy. Perhaps there's still time. Sorry. Joe is uh, Joe is telling Mr. Malloy about his drunken rant at Elizabeth. He's like, "Did you get the results you want?" He's like, "I don't know. No, of it all, I passed out." Nice little shot of the. We're gonna get shots like this in other episodes where they shoot someone standing at the jukebox and we see somebody standing behind them. That's how it is. Joe's standing at the jukebox, Bill Malloy's standing behind him. The the blue whale is deader than a doornail. There's literally like there was three people. There was somebody sitting at the counter. I don't know if they're sitting there now because we can't see them the way they're shooting this, but we do see Bill Malloy and Joe Hastor still in the bar. And here comes Sam Evans as the song kicks on. Sam says, "I like to see more, and I was hoping to see you." Sam tells Joe it's a private matter. Joe says I was just leaving. He thanks Bill Malloy for the drink. Not that he touched it, much of it. And now Sam Evans and Bill Malloy are sitting at the counter, and yep, that other guy is still sitting at the counter. And Sam says, "I need to see you know what." Because you might have said last night. Sam's trying to downplay what he might have said to Bill Malloy when he was drunk. Sam wants Bill to refresh his memory about what he said. "You wouldn't want me to repeat what you said in your home?" "Well, not if you think you shouldn't know." Sam's scared now. Bill's a really good chess player here. "Have you seen Roger Collins?" Bill asking me. He's like, "No." "Well, I should see Roger." Or nothing. Something you told me last night. I like how Bill's playing this. Sam asked him, "What do you think you learned?" And Bill said, "Too much, too much." There's a knocking at the door. Here comes Vicky. That girl must have walked quick. And here's Joe. Have you found Carol? Yeah, but I found Bill Malloy. The letter. You haven't heard from Carolyn, have you? Vicky says no. Hello? Hello, Carol. Where on earth are you? Listen. Listen. Vicky's not disturbed or jealous of Carolyn having lunch with Bert Devlin. Joe says, oh, she had lunch with Bert Devlin. Vicky says, nothing was planned. Joe is not happy with it. Vicky's just assuring Joe that Bert's just something different. Tomorrow it'll be someone else. So Joe tells Vicky that Mr. Moy is in the Blue Whale with Maggie's father, with Sam Evans. Mr. Says Maggie's father. He's like, yeah. And we go back to the Blue Whale. We hear laughing. Before you see a man with a disturbed conscience, that I can believe. And Sam says something has been tormenting him for years, and Bill says about 10 years. Sam's like, yeah, about that. So Sam's confirming some things. Could have been more or less. Bill says, I think it's the most important thing there is. I love how they are shooting them sitting side by side at the bar. We just saw that, but it's really good because you're having this. You can tell they're not speaking very loudly, that they're speaking where only the two of them can hear. They're not shouting because, again, the bar's not crowded. Doesn't have a ton of people. And it has, including the bartender, it has 4. He said, and Sam says only that he went up to Collinwood this afternoon. And he says he could not tell. He couldn't do it. He couldn't tell Liz. He says, I just couldn't. And Sam leaves the Blue Whale. Bill Malloy is pondering a lot of thoughts there. And he said, perhaps I can. Great episode. So that we did get some different camera angles in this episode from John Sedgwick. I enjoyed them. I do like the fact that in this episode you have Bill Malloy playing his cards really close to the vest and trying to sucker and trick Sam into telling him what he knows. And what Bill Malloy is really trying to do is confirm some suspicions that he has himself. And he may have just confirmed those suspicions in this episode. You guys have a good day.